So many political podcasts. Why another one? Well, in my case, it's the voice of an immigrant from Eastern Europe. You, I'm sure, already guessed by my accent, who lived to see in America one of the two parties wildly asking for socialism and communism that we fled from, millions of like me. This podcast is just a nice reminder of what Americans sometimes miss. And as an American, by choice, I applied for 15 years for a green card. I didn't allow anything to distract me from the plan, the dream to come living in America. When finally I won the lottery, I had to go through the process of presenting proofs of education, proof of professional skills, clean criminal background. All my family had to go through a medical exam at a clinic, the only clinic in the country that is authorized by the American government, and was it damn expensive. And then we had to pay $750 for each member of my family, including the toddler. But this is the legal way. And this is how our journey started in America. And it is so great. I wish more Americans could see through my eyes. And there was hard moments. There was the moment when I was almost evicted because I was late with my rent and I was driving for Uber and I'm not such a lousy cab driver. But America gave me so many chances and everyone and everything was pushing me as I raised my kids on my own up. So I want to talk about how I see the events that are occurring in our country and about the confusion that I see in so many people, young people, women, city people. And I'm a city guy. I'm from the capital of Bulgaria, 2 million population European city. And yes, we are progressive, but when did progressive become pervert and mental? That part is happening right now in America. And it's really disturbing. So, and sometimes my fellow conservatives miss huge talking points, huge facts. I'll just give you one example. When Democrats talk that they want free healthcare and free education and free this and affordability, free that, why aren't we asking them, hey, do it in California? No one stays on the way. It's the fifth or fourth world economy. You have the money. Nothing can stop you. Why don't you show us how it's done? You have a state where you have qualified majority in every level of the government. Do the free healthcare. Show us affordability. Why are you having the most homeless when you are so social and so concerned about the needy and the voiceless? Simple questions, right? But we we are so tired. I cannot imagine what it is to be Donald Trump and answer those insane, illogical, loaded questions from people who call themselves media. So I don't blame Republicans for sometimes not being able to answer like a hammer, because the truth is on our side. The logic, the common sense, and the law. We stick to the laws of physics, if you want me to put it that way, of biology. Men don't get pregnant. This is our stance, and we are lingering around 50% with the Democrats. That needs to be fixed. It should be a really easy fight. And because truth and logic are on our side, I decided to revive my podcast where I will obey one simple golden rule. I didn't make it up, didn't invent it. This is the rule number one and only of journalism. Facts are sacred, commentary is free. And this is what I'm gonna do here. Welcome to this journey. Feel free to give me your opinion. It really will be heard and will be responded. Thanks for being together. Let's jump to the first topic of this week. So the war, Iran. But Iran is not the most interesting story in my opinion. I see a lot of action and huge events happening in the Middle East, and I call it the new Middle East. which was completely reshaped, is being by Donald Trump. His vision that this part of the world doesn't have to be violent and behind everyone else and chaotic and terroristic. Why? It's not a given. So with an ally that we want to have a few more like them, Israel, he starts reshaping this important area of the world. We stopped hearing after only a year and a half of hard work, of sacrifice, and a lot of effort. We stopped hearing about Hamas. We stopped hearing about Hezbollah. We stopped hearing about the Houthis attacking boats. And we barely hear of terroristic acts against Israel. We actually don't. But we did hear about a trilateral meeting between America, Lebanon, and Israel. And they were talking as like friends. This is huge, dear friends. Lebanon was the richest country in the area. So I don't know, and honestly, I don't really care how exactly the war in Iran will end. It ended to me long ago when we decimated their resources and their several levels of government. We killed the Ayatollah and then everyone else around him. So who are we fighting against now? It's rogue groups of people who may never give up, right? They have some storage, each of these groups, with maybe 100, maybe 1,000 drones or one of these ballistic rockets. Can they do harm? Of course they can. Somalis did a lot of harm without even having a country. So this may last forever. The world will get used to it. We may have a fleet in the area, but most importantly, worst case scenario, if Iranians are so insane, they prefer to starve and they prefer to be killed and their country destroyed instead of showing some common sense, because the offer is very normal. Hey, let's do business. Stop with the terrorism. Let's trade. Look at your neighbors. Do business with them instead of threatening them. And everyone will be good with that. They don't accept that. I don't know. Why did they not accept the offer? It's always the same offer. It was the same offer last summer. And they didn't listen. And boy, was the punishment severe. Then we made another offer after beating them very badly. And they refused again. They got another beating. And it looked like they are coming to their senses, but they didn't. So now they're taking more of the beating. And do I care how much more the Iranians want to be poor and miserable? Day after day, they cannot sell their only good they can sell, the oil. They cannot buy anything. They cannot use their finances. So I can only imagine what life in Iran is. Whatever reserves they have, just imagine if hostile airplanes and rockets are falling all over the country day after day after day after day after day for like a year now. Just imagine what these people go through, and someone saying that they're winning, that they are like decimating Trump, is pure fantasy. It's pure delusion. The war is over. They don't attack anyone. I mean, sending a rocket to some neighbor is a terroristic act, right? They can do this forever until the last rocket is shot. But I don't know what else such insane people can figure out to keep doing what they are doing. Now, like at some point, the world will forget. It is really important that we Americans don't allow Iran to drive our election choice, because that is their latest hope, that we Americans will do the stupid thing and eliminate the commander-in-chief who is beating them hard and achieving every goal he had. No nuke, no threat to neighbors and to the world, no terrorism. It is not true that successful politicians are re-elected necessarily. In free countries, we've seen pretty good governments being replaced by someone else. So let's hope America will stay strong behind Trump because the good is everywhere around us. Oh, and by the way, oil will not stay expensive because several pipelines are being worked as we speak that will go around the Strait of Hormuz. Now that Syria is a friendly government, they are making pipelines. Qatar has huge reserves of gas, and Saudi Arabia and everyone there is rich on oil and gas, and the Iraqi prime minister was here. So the only thing I care about is the two boys, the two soldiers that were killed last week. I am the father of a soldier, and I can only imagine what their parents went through. I can imagine how every parent of a soldier, American soldier in that area dispatched feel like. But so far, the casualties are very, very minimal, and casualties happen everywhere, like on the road, flights, even in training. More people die, much more than the less than 10 people, as far as I know, that we have lost there. Yet, this is my personal tragedy, again, because my boy is, and because I'm a human, not just because my boy, because I feel for those people. But if we Americans stay strong this fall and don't invite the people with the blue hairs and the pronouns issues and the open border policies and the pro-China part is that concerns me the most. I firmly believe it's becoming ever more obvious that China is involved in American politics directly. I firmly believe that crypto wallets were exchanged. It's untraceable. And that is the only explanation for the illogical things that Democrats are doing. Opening the border to so many millions, to the fentanyl. Fentanyl is it's like an injection into a body. It's the body of America. And we had a government that didn't care about that. Doesn't make sense. Unless that government first priority is not America. But we'll talk about this some other time. Now, I just want to finish by pointing your attention that Middle East being friendly, not hostile, just being not hostile to America. And we already have friends there. Now they are becoming more friends. We are getting closer. This is a huge thing. And the last element I don't want you guys to forget is that America is a net exporter of oil and gas. When prices go high, yes, we pay at the pump, and that's not nice, but we pay very little more. We get a lot by selling to those tankers that now come to our docks instead of the Iran. Makes sense, right? We export oil. We also control Venezuela's oil, and we kind of are the big player in that game of energy. And guess who is dependent on energy? China, our main foe, the Communist Party of China. So while we are worried if we will get Iran on their knees, which we did already long ago, China is being in trouble because they were used to buy cheap oil from Iran and cheap oil and gas from Russia. Trump is making that ever harder for China. They are paying ever more for energy. Watch this process that you won't see a lot of comments in the US media. Let's move ahead. War in Ukraine. What are the facts? The facts are it's terrible. Russians are dying by the hundreds of thousands, probably more than 1 million. Insane. And Ukrainians are dying. Yeah, less, but that doesn't comfort much. The Russia's rate of advance has collapsed. 15 times less of advance they are making now, but they are making advance. Just a few numbers. 20 to 40 minutes is the estimated lifespan of a Russian soldier once dropped on the battlefield. insane again. No, I don't know if any other nation would tolerate this. Very disappointing, dear Russians, if any of you guys is watching. The deep strikes are hitting hard. Make no mistake. 7 millions, now Ukraine is producing 4 million drones. That means they are under bombardments all the time. So they are finding these workshop. They're receiving parts from everywhere because even with lazy Europeans and not willing to pay, and the US busy in other parts of the globe, Ukraine is receiving the resources they need. I call them the Jews of Eastern Europe. They are exactly like David against Goliath. They are exactly like Israel against their vastly outnumbering neighbors, yet Israel was always winning with unspeakable bravery and smartness and sacrifice. Yeah, that too. So Russia is escalating the barrages on Ukraine. Overnight, July 19, it fired 41 missiles, of which 25 ballistic and 125 drones. That is the largest ballistic missile count of the war, and it was concentrated on Kyiv, the capital, and on the power grid. I know Ukrainians, I talk to them when they have their phones charged, and I see them in the cold. It's very cold in Ukraine. I see them, I hear how they hope on the way to work they wouldn't be killed. None of them said it's time to give up. I don't think they will. Yes, they sometimes are mad against the corruption because they do have corruption in their government. But hey, we also have corruption. We are starting to unpack years-long systems of corruption, of government funding, leftist NGOs paying for leftist activists, huge salaries on various positions, an army of people who were and many still are receiving money from the government money without being in the government. I'm not even talking about Doge and the fraud they discovered inside the government. I don't know where the fraud is bigger in America, but we can tell for sure, boy, there is corruption and fraud in America. So they have it in Ukraine, but I don't think they will give up. And ultimately, I believe they will win this war. At least it will not end at Russia's terms. Donald Trump was trying hard to achieve peace at any price. A couple of times I was really mad at him because he wanted Ukraine to give up too much. And I'm glad they didn't. If Russia is not punished for what they did, it is a bad example, just like, as we well know, when there is no justice, criminals do what? They repeat. So the war in Ukraine is happening right now in Russia. The system is shaking, and I lived in communism. I remember how a system that looked so stable crumbled overnight. This will happen in Russia. One morning, we will hear that Vladimir Putin was arrested. We will hear about some of part of the Federation detaching from the Russian Federation. Things will happen because you cannot be at war for 4 years and blocked by sanctions, not being able to do any business, but with the only country that actually wants Russian territory, and that is China. So Putin did the unthinkable. He submitted Russia to their worst enemy. The Chinese have a legit claim for Manchuria. It's now part of Russia, had been part of China. And they have so much more appetite for larger Russian territories. Siberia, the Baikal Lake, and much, much more. They have the people, they have the money, they have the economy, and Russia has only the nuclear weapons. Believe me, if they didn't have nukes, the Chinese would be there already. But Putin is making Russia ever more dependent on China. So sit and watch, people. I hope the Ukrainians stand their ground, and they have a chance to win. Now, probably the biggest topic of all, the discovery of 250 plus non-American citizens in the voting rolls. It's not just 250,000, but even if it was, just let's think together. The outcome of the elections is basically decided in 7 states that we call battleground states. And within those states, you have only a few election counties, whatever they call them, where the balance is really tiny. We're talking about a few hundred votes that will decide the outcome in that particular county. And from there, that particular county will push the balance in the one or the other direction because of those several hundred, couple thousand people. So 250,000 people is by far something that could make a difference in the election outcome in America. It's just you need to touch a few counties here and there, and then you flip an entire state. So this is right now not very loud. Of course, the media avoids talking about the most important things. This is what we should all watch. If Trump manages to win the battle for fair elections with an ID, without the universal mail-in voting, mail voting that we used to do, and we do even in Texas, a lot of people, is different from the universal mail-in voting that I need to remind maybe some of you guys that Democrats urgently introduced in a few states in the weeks before the elections in 2020. They changed the laws without voting those laws after 3 state Supreme Courts wrote that it was anti-constitutional, and that was the real reason why people went to the Capitol Hill on January 6th, because it was so obvious. You change the voting system the night before the elections in an illegal way. It cannot be done with the signature of a state secretary. It has to be a law voted in the state Congress. And even if the state secretary is a corrupt Republican, it is still illegal. It is not legit, but it happened. So I can see Trump perfectly understands the huge importance to make elections in America fair. Another example from California. Don't trust my words. Just let's use common sense. Do you know any country that is falling and failing, free-falling, but people keep electing the same party over and over and over again? This only happens in North Korea and in California. 20 plus years, almost 30 years, and people are so happy with that party, they never even think of a change, which we do just sometimes, irrationally. Let's try this new party. Let's try this new name. Not in California, not in New York, not in Massachusetts, not in Washington State, not in Illinois. If it's a leftist, a blue state, it is forever. And you will say, but some red states also have Republicans rolling for so many years. Yeah, Texas is that. But Texas is like a rocket. Republicans are doing the right thing here, and people are coming here, and businesses are coming to Texas, and money is coming to Texas. Why not revote for Republicans? Why would you revote for Democrats after so many failures? Just walking on the streets of these big cities, how is it possible that they keep re-electing Democrats? It is not. So, and we can clearly see that Democrats are fighting to the last soldier to not allow fair elections, to not allow ID of every voter. This tells volumes, and so many people are just looking the other way. I don't see a problem. Hey, it's right there. I don't see this is happening in our country. So sad. Insulting the common sense. Trump is not always a winner, but usually he is. So, and this battle is probably the most important, much more important than Iran, than even the border and anything else. Fair elections, where everyone shows with an ID and only US citizens are allowed to vote, as it is per constitution. Once this is achieved, whoever wins, I will be fine. Like we Republicans always do. We don't do protests. January 6th was a huge exception once. We don't spend our time. We have jobs. We have life to protest. We'll wait to the next elections patiently. I just want the elections to be fair. This is why people come to America from every other corner of the world, including from Europe now. Although this is not factually checked whether Europeans are coming in larger numbers to America now. But I would guess it's either happening or will. Next is another killing of a conservative voice in Great Britain, and the country where children get, I don't know if YouTube will allow me to say the most horrific word, that country. Not only they allowed their children to be groomed, but another conservative was killed, this time in Great Britain. Before it was mostly in America, and just ordinary Brits were killed randomly. So who is Andy Burnham? I'm sorry, I mispronounced the name. He was Greater Manchester Mayor, a role that includes police commissioner function, and he commissioned an independent review of historic child sexual exploitation in October 2017. Sounds like something right. What else did he do? That review found the 2005 shutdown of Operation Augusta was premature. The operation had identified at least 57 potential child victims and up to 97 persons of interest, and children were not protected. So he is finding out that the investigation should not be stopped. A full national inquiry chaired by Baroness Anne Longfield was announced in December 2025. These are the facts. The claim that his records are against his record are contested. Reform UK's Nigel Farage said Burnham failed the grooming gang's victims. Everyone did. And this is not a political statement. Everyone who was in charge for 20 plus years and did not stop this overnight is guilty. Labour or a conservative? Guilty. If thousands of children are being victimized systemically, guilty. The system is guilty. The nation is guilty. No excuse for that. The nation is guilty. They were voting for these politicians. I cannot imagine they didn't know. Could be like Nazi Germany after the end of the Second World War. Germans were saying we didn't know about the camps. We did know. In communist Bulgaria, in the Soviet Union, we knew very well about the camps, about people disappearing. We were banned from speaking every day. Every time I left home, my mom, my grandparents would warn me, and remember, watch what you say. Don't say jokes against the government. Everyone could report you, even your best friends. So I don't see how Brits didn't know. I don't see how a police commissioner did and the mayor didn't know what is happening to the children in their city, village, mostly cities, of course, because cities are more progressive, right? What else to expect? How about immigration? As a Labour MP between 2001 and 2017, he generally voted against the Conservatives' stricter immigration enforcement measures. As a minister, he implemented the 2006 ID cards law, which he has since disowned. So they were giving illegals ID cards. He voted for it for 16 years in a row. I think the picture is clear. What can we expect from this gentleman? Another leftist evil masked behind a good suit and a nice smile and smooth talking. Oh boy, they know That they know. That they are better than us, so much better. They are so much about the underrepresented. They make up those nice words and they so much care. Listen, people, when the communists were installed, they never won an election. When they were installed by the Soviet army, they didn't say we will kill the elite of the nation, we will send dozens and hundreds of thousands in the labor camps. They never said we will close the border so you cannot leave. No, they were all about caring. They were caring. They wanted to help. So everyone you know who is sympathizing the Democratic Party, tell them that, hey, I listened to that Bulgarian on the internet and he told me that. Never believe a communist who tells you that they care and they are here to help. Ronald Reagan said it very well. It's 100% true. I lived through it. So this guy is just another puppet who will drag feet to not stop the illegal immigration in the United Kingdom. Why? Oh, let's touch that topic. Well, because illegals are really good voters. They are grateful and loyal to whoever let them in. They will vote for that party forever because that party will not deport them. That party will actually allow more of them, their families and friends and neighbors. So we heard a lot about population replacement. It's an obvious fact. It's not a conspiracy theory. We can clearly see it in America, in Europe, even in Canada, in Australia. The real topic is voters replacement. That incessive push to allow them to vote. Democrats do allow them illegals to vote in local elections at several places, and they tried several times to allow them in federal election, even if they know very well it's not legal. They don't care about legal. So everyone who is part of this systemic importation of new voters, and the scheme is very simple. Once they are here and they are allowed to vote, which is actually already happening in Europe, they push more and more weight to the left, to the political correctness, and the votes of citizens weight less and less. It's a simple math. I don't know if it was by design, but at some point, I'm sure those politicians who allowed the illegals, they realized how much politically beneficial this new crowd of loyal, grateful people is to their parties and to their own political careers. No hope for this guy. In 2025-26, my agents report, because that's how I prepare this podcast. I use Anthropic Claude, the most intelligent artificial intelligence nowadays, to collect information and check. And I want to have the facts because, as we said, facts are sacred, commentary is free. It is a fact that in last year and this year, Mr. Burnham shifted towards tougher enforcement. He urged labor to go further on illegal immigration. He called small boat channel crossing damaging trust, and he said to agree on root and branch asylum reform. And he backed Labor's 2026 immigration and asylum bill, which left-wing outlets call hardening. Yeah, the way Democrats were hardening. So the real change in the UK will come when someone who was not associated with the victimizing of children, massive in the hundreds of thousands, and someone who was not involved in allowing illegal immigrants in mass numbers. And that excludes Labour and that excludes the Tories. I'm sorry, I don't like very much the reform, the Nigel Farage guy. He is probably better. I specifically don't like his weird, he never criticizes Russia. This is a very important marker for me. There are some things that we need to be united, and I don't hear this from him. But there is a need for change in Great Britain. And the last topic today is It's huge. By itself, it should be discussed in a separate episode. What do I mean? In a few words. Is Trump's economic policy successful? Are these policies creating more jobs, industrial jobs? And the answer in 2026 is no so far. What are the numbers? The biggest numbers in recent years were in 2024, 230,000 industrial jobs. Right now, they are lower number. So as of March this year, factory employment is down by 82,000 since January 2025. This is weird because we can see the big announcements and the big investments that are being made. Trump says it's 17 trillion. I say it's about 1.7 trillion, which is still an insane number. And I'm not saying he's wrong. His number is wrong. I think he means as an investment other things. I'm not going to guess. The numbers that my agents reported me are about 1.77 trillion in announced U.S. manufacturing commitments as of July 2026. These are really fresh numbers. 162 companies and 37 states announced projects. First place leading is the semiconductors, chips. 1.2 trillion. That is absolutely insane number. Why I am so ecstatic? Because it proves that his policies are right. Money is coming, and these factories are a little faster to build. And given that the demand is huge, you will have chip production coming faster than, let's say, cars production, because the demand is lower and the profit is lower. Chips, pharmaceuticals, weapons are the most profitable industries, and that is what Donald Trump wants. I didn't hear him asking clothes or maybe even, furniture, toys to be produced in America. We can leave that to others, but we want the high profit, X2, 3 times, 200, 300, 500% return of investment profit. That profit will go one way or another in everyone's pocket by taxes that are being paid, by jobs that will be open when these plants start working. It takes time. It's only 1 year and a half. You don't build a plant. You don't build a nuclear plant for at least 10 years. Now, these new startups, small modular reactors may prove me wrong. I hope they will. And then we'll see even more energy, nuclear energy being produced in a relatively easy, cheap, and mostly safe way. But long story short, we are about to see the growth. When money is coming, there will be plants and there will be jobs. So the math will support his policies, even if right now the number is lower. I don't know why. I can only guess. But these are macroeconomic processes. What I know for sure is that America is not getting smaller, and that us forcing others to open their markets for our products will lead to more production. We will produce more cars because we will force Europeans, Chinese, Japanese to import American cars and other American products. It will take more time than we want, but it probably will happen. And with that, I don't want to say the topic is wrapped up. I just want to say that, for today, let's stop here. I follow these numbers and I will frequently come back to that topic because this is one of the highest priority, most important processes. If the media doesn't talk about it, it is important. Thank you for watching. And let's meet next week. This is probably the only episode that will not be streamed live. So next Sunday, 6 p.m. Central Time, let's meet here. Please subscribe, click on the bell so you get this quiet notification, and we will stay in touch. Take care.